It's Monday, May 22nd, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we discuss Ubuntu.
Let's do this.
So a lot's happened since the last Geeknights.
Too much has happened.
We had a crazy geekend where we played Burning Wheel, found a whole bunch of anime that doesn't suck.
And we got real tired and ate a lot of food.
Yep, I also sprained my ankle. It is mostly healed now, but it is still swollen.
Did you put ices on it?
No, you're really not supposed to.
Well, you put it on. I think it's the timing and duration that you have to get right, that everyone gets wrong.
Yep. Basically, because I sprained my ankle earlier in the weekend, like before everyone came over, and then I re-sprained it. Like I sprained it the rest of the way while we were climbing the mountain.
Oh.
And I had to just go up the rest of the way of the mountain and then come back down, and it was all swollen. And I'm like, it's obviously sprained. I'm going to look online and see what the internet has to say about ankle sprains.
Like back in the day, you used to just ask your mom, and now, nope, computer knows best.
Yep. Well, actually, I went to a bunch of sites, and they all said the same thing, and I looked, and it's a grade 1 sprain. Therefore, do this. And all the sites basically said, you can put ice on it if you want because it makes it feel good. You can isolate it or put a wrap around it to not let the ankle move to make it feel better. All of those things will make it heal poorly and possibly permanently damage you.
Oh, really?
Apparently, unless you have a grade 2 or 3 sprain, which apparently a grade 2 you'll have big old bruising and it's obvious you have a bad sprain, and grade 3 you won't be able to stand up at all.
Oh.
But they were like, if it's a grade 1, you should just walk it off, and in fact move your ankle around a lot even though it hurts. Otherwise, when the tendons fix themselves, they won't fix themselves right, and your ankle won't be able to move that far again.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Dum dum dum.
So I just walked it off, and now my ankle feels fine.
Geeknights, now the medical advice podcast.
Yes, while you're at it, eat a whole bunch of uncooked beans and bean sprouts.
Make sure to take some garlic, put it in oil, let it sit for like a week, and then drink the whole thing.
Yeah. You find a mushroom, the best way to find out if it's poisonous or not is to eat 3 or 4 of them.
When you want to cross the street, don't look both ways. Just, kind of walk real slow. No, just run right out when the car is right about to come. Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
Still tired. Going to sleep right after this.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep on the way to work. I almost fell asleep on the way home from work. Luckily, I didn't fall asleep at work.
Yep.
Though we're going to do an episode on Burning Wheel soon because we finally tried to run a game of it, even though we ran the game at about midnight.
And we ran it, I think we did, but yeah, we'll talk about it when we talk about it.
Yeah. But also, today was the first day of my new job, since for those of you who listen regularly, I quit IBM.
Sayonara, International Business Machine Co.
I already like my new job 1,000 times more.
Hooray, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, well, one thing, I'm doing stuff. Like, I did more today than I did in probably the last month of working at IBM.
That's the thing. When I started my job, I was doing things for a good few months, and then it slowly faded into nothingness. So I'm thinking maybe just what we have to do as tech guys who want to work is we have to keep switching jobs. Get a new job, do all the work they have for you until it's all done because we're so badass we do it all, and then get a new job.
Well, I think with this job, the work's going to keep coming because it's not like my previous job, which was mostly reactive. I didn't get to do anything fun. I was mostly maintaining what was already there.
Yep. I'm sure that some jobs, will have longer durations of work to do. Some jobs might even have years of work to do, but I don't think there's a job out there that can provide a steady flow of work forever. That is still interesting and enjoyable.
But at least with this job, I won't be sitting in front of a computer all day.
Yep, at least not for a good long while.
In fact, I'll be wandering around the Bronx, going to hospitals and poking at bits.
Maybe I should just try to find a new job soon. I've been kind of real lazy,
Do any of your coworkers listen to Geeknights?
They don't even know it exists as far as I know.
Yeah.
If they do, they haven't said anything.
I know everyone I worked with at IBM who I liked knows about Geeknights now.
Cool. Yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll wait till the end of the summer. And then...
Yeah, after all the crazy vacation times.
Yeah, after I use all my vacations. Then I'll start to look, and then maybe in the new year I can get a new job.
Now, the best part of all this is I quit my job and I left Friday. Turned in my badge, signed the forms promising not to, recruit people from IBM to my new job or anything. They actually made me sign a form specifically. They're like, you may not, for 1 year, try to recruit IBMers to whatever job you just got.
That's fine. IBM will eventually fire them or lay them all off, and then you can recruit them because they won't be IBMers.
Or they'll quit anyway. I mean, for the week before I left, and people were asking me, like, oh, what's the job? What are you doing? And apparently the benefits I get kick the living shit out of anything IBM offers.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is? To do your job, you have to be knowledgeable about technology.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in IBM are smart. They don't know about new technology. Like, they don't know about Linux, really.
So the only one who can hire them is IBM because they're the only ones with old technology like that.
No, I think Computer Associates could hire them. I think Platinum IT could deal with them because
Computer Associates is kind of bleh. They don't seem to hire so many people, and they don't have new technology.
That's what I was saying.
I mean, but they don't have old busted mainframes. The people who do the Java WebSphere stuff could probably do Computer Associates.
Yeah, well, they could do it. I mean, if you know Java, you can get jobs anywhere.
Yeah,
the problem is those jobs
the
are not
mainframe
fun.
people have no jobs.
The problem is those jobs aren't fun. Writing Java for people is not fun.
If you got a job writing Java for someone, you're not a fun person. So you don't mind.
I think the problem is that all the people who learn Java and do, web application stuff with Java, there are better ways to do it. And I don't know why anyone would actually want to use Java for something like that.
I don't get it. It's a corporate enterprise thing.
Yeah, but it's not any better. I tried to explain this to IBM hundreds of times that, Java and all this enterprise stuff is not really better than the things you can get elsewhere.
There is the advantage in that the alternatives like PHP and all that other open source stuff, you have to get an expensive open source guy to do it. Java is something that every computer science student in the universe is taught nowadays. So you can get some schmo crap-ass CS guy or some crap-ass outsourcing co to do it for you real crappily and real cheap because, hey, they don't know about software as long as it works, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that
it has a bunch of fancy marketing words on it from Sun.
Yeah, the word they use the most that bothers me also the most is scalable.
Yep.
But they never say, oh, it's scalable. But
what does scalable mean?
I don't think they really know.
I know what scalable means. You know what's fucking scalable? Standard PC equipment with MySQL on it and Linux. That's scalable. You can add as many fucking machines as you want, as much hardware and as much software. You'll never have to take it down. That's scalability right there.
So now I have to go through all the adventures of trying to figure out the optimum way to drive to and from work. Which may or may not involve leaving my car somewhere in the Bronx and taking a train to get it every day.
Well, then what do you do on the weekend then?
I won't have a car here because I don't really need one.
Okay.
Or I'll bring it back on the weekends. I don't know.
I could park diagonally in the driveway then.
Yeah, you could.
Ooh.
I'm seriously still thinking about the motorcycle. Well, the guy I'm working under actually used to ride, and when I mentioned I wanted a motorcycle, he was like, oh, get this information, oh my God.
Yeah, but you gotta ask more than one guy.
Yeah, well, the thing is, every person I've asked and every website I've read said the exact same thing.
That's then generally a good indication.
Yep. So I'm kind of poking around for classes and everything still, but I don't have time for the next, month before I can do this.
Yeah, if anyone out there listening to Geeknights rides or has ridden.
Yeah, call in.
Yeah.
Because I'm, seriously probably going to get a motorcycle within the next 2 years, probably guaranteed.
Yeah, maybe me even also. Or we can, buy a cheap one together to learn on it and then sell it and then buy real ones.
Yeah, partly because gas is real expensive and we all drive very far to work.
Yeah, I can balance, and I've ridden mini bikes and dirt bikes once, and all sorts of things, but never a real motorcycle, on the road with cars.
On the road again.
No, it's not good. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
News. Mostly old news from over the weekend.
That's fine. You know what? I got enough news for the whole week today. So tomorrow you're going to hear today's news, and on through Wednesday you're going to hear today's news. And on Thursday you might even hear yesterday's news.
That's the thing about not being on the internet all day at a job like I used to be. And also having a weekend where I really didn't have a chance to sit down at the internet. When I got home from work today and I got on the internet, there was an infinite flood of news. And it was like, oh my God. And I was like, that's the news. That's my thing of the day. That's tomorrow's news. That's the next news. Oh my God.
Yep. I was actually catching up on all sorts of weekendy crap while at work, so I kind of had that going in the afternoon.
I was running around the Bronx looking at hospitals.
Great. Okay, so my news Apparently, the Motor City Comic-Con was this weekend. I guess that's a Detroit comic convention.
Yeah, Detroit is the Motor City, a.k.a. Hockey Town.
Yep. I don't think it was actually in Detroit. It might have been near Detroit.
Well, remember, Detroit is a large metropolitan area that includes a number of smaller...
Oh, it was in Novi.
Oh, that's where PenguinCon was.
Yeah, but it's not in the same hotel as PenguinCon. It was in some...
Yeah, Novi's big, you know.
Yeah. It says here where it was, but I'm not going to find it in the article. You can read it yourself.
Yeah, Novi is Detroit. It's just... it's like the boroughs in New York City. They're not quite that integrated, but when you say Detroit, you generally mean all of Southeast Michigan.
Oh, it was the Rock Financial Showplace. So, early on opening day, a bunch of police from Novi Police Department and RIAA and MPAA investigators.
You can see where this is going.
Right? Well, it says they were undercover agents, but this picture here shows a guy wearing an RIAA jacket, so it doesn't look very undercover to me.
You know what the answer to this is right away? I would have people at the door that would ask very simply, 1, are you a police officer or law enforcement officer? 2, are you a member or agent of the RIAA?
They had a
MPAA?
warrant.
They had a warrant, you say.
They had a warrant.
Then they weren't undercover.
That's the thing that's kind of scary, weird about this article. Now, this really doesn't bother me that much because there were guys selling bootlegs there. And it's, there's a difference between sharing a 10-year-old movie on BitTorrent or sharing the latest TV show on BitTorrent the day after or whatever, and copying DVDs or taking movies off of TV that aren't on DVD and then selling them for money.
Yeah, I mean, these guys aren't like the fan subber circles or people who would trade tapes for tapes or sell fan subs for like $1 a tape so they could cover their shipping costs. These guys are like, we make money off of other people's work.
This is the dealer's room. Guys in the dealer's room with bootleg DVDs selling them.
You know, I've noticed that almost every Comic Con I've been to, which have been very, very few.
No. Here, check this out. If you go to Midtown Comics in New York City, which is pretty much the comic store, they're one of the few places that buys every comic. If you go there, right at the front on the right side of this, in Times freaking Square, on the right side of the store, you will see all sorts of shit on DVD for sale that is not legitimate. I remember I went in there. We got the Family Guy movie off the internet?
Yep.
The next day I went in there, they had the Family Guy movie playing on their TV and they're selling DVDs of it. It wasn't out yet. And I was like, so you got that? And he's like, yeah, we got it early. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then, remember when we had that Japanese Spider-Man thing?
Yeah.
They were selling that. They took it off the internet, burned it to a DVD, and were selling it. Hey, RIA guys, if you're listening, I don't like you, but Midtown Comics is seriously, bad. Worse than any of these dealers.
Well, look at those comic conventions we always went to in Wildwood, because they always happen to be there when we're down there.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Every time we go to those, though, there's always people just selling bootleg DVDs. Like, here's all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for $50.
Yeah, what the hell?
I mean, anime cons and even gaming cons, it's like the exact opposite. I mean, Otakon, if they catch a dealer with bootlegs, they kick them out. The dealer gets kicked out.
Yep.
They've done it before.
Yeah, at this Comic-Con, apparently what happened is some dealers, closed as they went to the police station for interrogation, and any items that were listed on the warrant were confiscated. And some dealers didn't actually close because they had other merchandise to sell, and they said most dealers were open again or later.
Huh. I
One guy only had 20 DVDs. That was just a small part of his booth, so he was,
I think the undercover agents thing was probably undercover agents went in, found all the bootlegs, came back out, got a warrant, and then they came back. That would make sense. The article was probably just stupidly written.
That makes sense to me.
That's my guess. I pulled that out of my ass. That's not any sort of verifiable news.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like about this, because this isn't all great, is that why are there RIAA and MPA agents, like official investigators? You're not police. You're just employees of some company.
That's why they went and got the police. And the fact that the police went along with this is kind of surprising because the police don't care. They want to write speeding tickets and get money for it. They don't make any money off of bootleggers.
Yeah, so why can't we go be like Geeknights investigators and go investigate some companies?
We can. It's called investigative journalism. You want to do it? You want to pull old
So
school?
what do we do? We drive up to the RIAA building, and what do we do?
We walk in and we try to interview people until they kick us out, and then we pull a old school Michael Moore and stand outside with some sort of spectacle going on.
It's not really. It doesn't really work anymore. They figured out how to stop that.
Yeah, just ignore you.
Yes, it hasn't worked since he did it. Like, was it over 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Ancient times.
Yeah, Scott Johnson had all those DVDs.
Yeah, we need a new trick if you want to do that.
Huh.
There was a movie, actually, I heard of. Some guy did the Michael Moore thing to Michael Moore.
That's fantastic.
And I don't know if it worked, but I don't know the name of the movie. I'll find it, and I'll mention it tomorrow. I heard about it from somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's awesome that someone was like outside his house, like, why won't you talk to me about the bullshit in your movie?
But, I mean, the RIAA with their agents, it's just like the BSA with their agents. I mean, they basically come to your company and demand entrance so they can audit you.
The thing is, the BSA, the RIAA and the MPA are they're legal groups. It's like a lawyer team. You know, it's sort of like the ACLU, but for record companies instead of freedom people. The BSA is just Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's really just Microsoft in disguise with a little Adobe.
I mean, if I was ever in charge of a company where the BSA came, they wouldn't get into the door, and I'd tell them to fuck off, and I'd have my lawyers ready.
Yeah.
They have no right to come in and audit me.
Unless the police,
Yeah, but
want to arrest me.
They need probable cause, no warrant.
Yeah.
You know what we got to do a Thursday on? How to deal with the police.
That's a good one.
Because I've run afoul of police officers more than once for various things that I may or may not have done.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of BS on the internet about what to do when police come, and a lot of it's wrong, and people might get in trouble if they listen to it.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's a lot of advice that's gold.
Golden.
I mean, police officers are very easy to deal with. Even if you have committed a crime, they can't do much to you, and they usually will lie to you in order to get you in trouble.
Yep, as long as they don't have any probable cause, so don't give them any.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like we think all cops are bad, but 99% of cops give 1% of cops a bad name.
Well, it's not that cops are bad people,
there's a system that enforces bad behavior in cops, I think.
I think there is, and I think also, like a lot of cops, if you didn't know, if you were hanging out with them at their house or whatever, they'd be all cool. But then when they're at their job, they're like, doing the job they have to do is be an asshole. So it's like they're just doing their job, and well, they just are. But when your job is be an asshole and bother people and piss them off, that doesn't make you very popular. I mean, what if it was my job to go around and hit you on the head? You'd be like, oh, Scott's a nice guy. It's just his job to hit you on the head.
I thought you were going to say, what if it was my job to go around and be an asshole?
No, I do that anyway.
If only you got paid.
If only.
You know, if Geeknights got paid for doing that, we wouldn't mean to do this podcast. We'd just be rich.
Awesome.
Just have a mansion.
The asshole mansion. We shape it like a giant butthole.
Because I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
Okay. What's your news?
Oh, yeah, news. Okay. This is actually from Friday, and it's kind of related to IBM. This is my last IBM news, since technically I was still an employee of IBM on Friday. Though I do not speak for IBM, I would like to get that out now, so they don't sue me.
Like some RIAA dudes.
Yeah.
Or some BSA dudes.
Yeah. RIAA dudes, Scott has a lot of pirated MP3s.
Not really.
Yeah, he does. A whole bunch.
Actually, most of my MP3s are totally
most, but not all. And you know how much? It's like $15,000 per MP3.
You have all my MP3s also.
Yeah, I also have many more.
No, there you go.
You have like 50 movies.
Yeah, those movies are...
Anyway, Lenovo, for those of you who don't know. You know, I say that a lot. For those of you who don't know. Do you guys know or not when I ask that? I'm just curious. Answer in the forums.
Lenovo is
the company that IBM sold their PC division to.
Right, so IBM used to make those black tower PCs and the Aptivas.
And the laptops.
And did they also sell, what are those, what were those things called? The IntelliStations?
IntelliStations?
Yeah.
They sold all of their PC and laptop manufacturers.
And mostly the ThinkPads. The ThinkPads are the big deal.
Now, the thing is, the products didn't change. Nothing really changed except that now the company called Lenovo owns them instead of the company called IBM.
So they're no longer called IBM ThinkPads, but they're the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, they're even mostly made in the same places by the same people.
It's like if Microsoft bought Apple, right? And they took the Apple logo off of the MacBooks and the MacBook Pros and they put the Windows logo on there, but they didn't change the hardware whatsoever. Not in any way.
Now, the State Department and various government agencies have decided that because Lenovo is owned by China and because they're paranoid and or protectionist of American industry, Lenovo computer equipment cannot be used in government secure networks, period. They're worried about China spying on the United States.
They're just stupid.
They
don't understand technology.
Now, either they're stupid and they don't understand technology, or this is just a smokescreen to create a protective environment for the American computer industry that they're trying to revitalize.
That would be fine, but if they're trying to do that, why don't they just say so?
Because it's illegal.
I have no problem with that.
Because you can't do that because of all the international agreements on trade we've signed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's why there's all those scandals between us and Canada over softwood and hardwood lumber. Because we've been putting tariffs on it, even though that's illegal under NAFTA and all these other agreements we've signed. So we've skirted around it with loopholes.
Countries are so wussy lately. It used to be back in the day, if you violated a treaty with someone, they'd come and kick your ass. And then they'd shoot you and bomb you.
Hell, France invaded Germany. Well, it wasn't really Germany yet, but France invaded what became Germany because they insulted France once.
Yeah, so now you have a guy breaking a treaty. You said, he came up to you. Imagine if I came up to you and I said, I'm going to give you this for free. Then I give it to you and I say, where's my fucking money? And you don't give me any? And then I get all messy with you. You're going to start a fight. That's what you do.
No. You go to the United Nations and you make a complaint and then, 12 years later they issue a statement. But then it gets vetoed and overturned and nothing happens. What do you want?
If we make a deal and the other guy doesn't come through, I'd kick your ass.
Yeah, but you can't really kick anyone's ass anymore. Unless you're a poor country with no natural resources. Then you can kick all the asses you want.
See, if we weren't using our military for stupid things, we could use it for ass kicking when needed.
Yeah.
That's what militaries are for. Number one, make sure your people don't die from other people trying to kick your ass. Number two, kick other people's ass.
Yeah, like if North Korea had suddenly actually invaded South Korea and all the horribleness that would follow, I'd be fine with the U.S. kicking North Korea's ass and saving everyone.
Yep.
But I'm not fine with us invading random countries for fun.
Yeah, it's okay to attack someone with proportional to the reason for attacking them. It's not okay to attack someone for no reason. Especially if you're gonna conquer their whole country. Like if China, let's say China did something to us, like breaking a treaty, right? I wouldn't go over there and blow up all of China and start a giant war.
You just break whatever treaty you can break.
Yeah,
eye for an eye.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, if you're not gonna hold up on treaty, it's civilization too.
Except you realize in Civilization 2, I've come to the conclusion that unless I kill everyone else in the world, Civilization is doomed. Every game I've ever played, if I become awesome and powerful right away because I'm good at that stupid game because I wasted most of my life playing it, and I'll have this nice happy place.
You spend more than 50% of your life playing Civilization 2.
And there's a long stretch in high school.
Okay.
I'll build up a giant, awesome civilization, a totally non-aggressive. I never fight with anyone. When I run into civilizations, that's my border. And I just make my cities. I have science. I make my people as happy as possible. And I try to play as though I'm a real person, doing everything I can to make my people happy and prosperous. And the other nations are always afraid of me. They don't attack me, and they stay away from me because I also have the science and the gunpowder and all that.
And they have none of those.
But as technology gets greater and weapons become more powerful, sure, they're less powerful than me because I have all the science, but they can still do a lot of damage. So they'll start declaring war on me and attacking me, and then as soon as I strike back at all, they freak out and ask for peace.
Yep.
And then 10 years later, they attack me again. And if they get nukes, they nuke me, and that's the end. The only way around this is to destroy everyone before they get the chance to destroy me.
Awesome.
If I let them have one city, it'll build a goddamn nuke, it'll send a spy, it'll march into my capital, boom!
Yeah, so if someone breaks your treaty, don't just give them the finger and grunt. Punch them in the face.
Yeah. I think the time will come when someone's going to give America a nice cock punch.
And if the RIAA comes to bust up your DVD bootlegging, that's your own damn fault. But if they come in to bust up your Perfectly Okay by Scott bootlegging, kick them in the nuts.
Yeah. Well, once again, I point out that the RIAA isn't actually winning any of their lawsuits.
They haven't gotten a law passed in years either.
Yeah. I mean, you always hear about, oh, so-and-so was sued, so-and-so settled for some obscene amount of money. They're settling because they don't want to risk fighting it. But the people who fight tend to win.
I don't think anyone's actually finished fighting yet.
Yeah, the one woman, it was overturned, but now the RIAA is trying to get her again.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
They keep all the bad news about the RIAA is they're trying to do something evil. The broadcast flag is coming. Oh no, you
never hear news.
Nothing bad has actually happened except since the DMCA, which has been 5 years, 6 years.
And the DMCA hasn't really been tested in court yet either.
Yeah, we might still have a chance to eliminate it with another means besides the means we tried once, which is, I think, what bad means.
The thing is, they can't arrest us all. And I don't want to sound... everyone does it. The vast majority of people who have computers pirate things in some scale.
Whether they know it or not.
You can't arrest everyone. It's over. Give up. Buggy whips. So just before this, I watched I'm the Juggernaut, bitch again.
It's great.
And Scott said something to the effect of, that should be the thing of the day.
Yeah, it should be.
To which I said it already was.
That's fine.
It'll be my thing of the day every day for the next week.
If you haven't seen the Juggernaut, bitch, then go to frontrowcrew.com and there should be a link somewhere.
I recommend watching it. It's stupid, but it builds up over time. And it's just hilarious.
It helps a little bit if you know who some of the X-Men are.
Even though we have no idea who the frickin' Mohawk guy at the end is.
No, not a clue. And we didn't know who the Pimp Cane guy was either until someone told us.
You're with my Pimp Cane.
You're my Pimp Cane.
Anyway, my thing of the day is...
Charles, what you doing my head? No.
It has nothing to do with that. It is... Now, this is kind of well done. I was fairly impressed with it. It is RoboCop versus Neo from The Matrix.
I picked the winner correctly.
Yeah. Now, the best part is...
Who's going to win?
The referee is Crocodile Dundee.
You only see once.
Yeah. But to spoil it slightly, so Neo is fighting RoboCop, and he kicks RoboCop's ass. Then that other thing from RoboCop appears, along with Yoda.
Okay.
And this is really well done. Just watch it. I don't know what else I can say other than the fact that...
It is a fine piece of video editing work, I must say.
Yes.
Not the greatest I've ever seen, but far from... It's definitely above the line.
It's in the same style and the same technique as that Cowboy Bebop anime music video that everyone knows.
It's a little better than that, I'd say. Especially
Yeah.
But yeah,
but the same kind of tricks, like how they did it.
Yep, definitely an entertaining watch.
All right, so Scott's got a thing of the day that is absolutely hilarious.
Have you ever seen the 10 Commandments with, from my cold dead hands? What's his name?
Heston?
Yes. The long movie they show on Passover every year, which is actually a pretty good movie, even if, the story is made up and just a Bible story. I actually like the movie a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's got Yul Brynner.
He's the man.
Yul Brynner is the man, even though he's dead.
I mean, he's as much the man as, like, Sean Connery.
Yeah, pretty much. He was also the king in King and I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. So, anyway, some guy took the 10 Commandments, and remember that Shining thing that was big where the guy took The Shining and he made a feel-good movie trailer out of Shining footage?
Yep, and they turned... West Side Story into a zombie movie.
Right. Well, this guy took the 10 Commandments and turned it into a teen movie.
10 things I hate about commandments.
Yeah. Yeah. So...
Moses.
That guy, you had to see this, especially...
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson as Principal Firebush.
It's really well done.
The burning bush, oh my God.
It is, once again, it shows the power of editing.
Yeah. Like if anyone, you go to see a movie and you pay attention to special effects and the plot and that stuff, you don't pay attention to editing so much. But that's the goddamn one of the most important things going on.
I mean, editing can
If
make
you edit
make or
poorly,
break.
the editing makes the difference between a teen movie and a 10 Commandments. That's a big fuck difference. You better edit properly.
Yep.
So a lot of people have been trying out Ubuntu lately on our forums and such. And we got to remember, because we tend to say Ubuntu, even though the correct pronunciation is Ubuntu. So we're going to try to say Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. It's some African word that means humanity to others. It's on the front page of the site. All right.
Yeah.
But
Nope.
anyway, today we're kind of copping out because we're tired.
And luckily we went long in the first half of the show.
On purpose.
But
Not by
basically,
luck.
everyone always says, oh, how should I get into Linux? Or how do I use Ubuntu? Or how do I start it? So we're going to go into great detail into exactly what you need to do to use Ubuntu.
Yeah, we're going to assume that you have... Oh, no, we can do Mac or Windows. It doesn't matter. We're going to tell you everything you need to do to try out Ubuntu Linux and install it if you really want to. It's brain dead simple, and I'm going to make this hopefully so uncomplicated that anyone who knows how to click a mouse and type on a keyboard can do it. So, step 1, look at what kind of computer you have.
It's either a Mac or not a Mac.
Well, it could be, if it's an Intel Mac, that's different from if it's a G5 Mac or a G4 Mac. That's important. Basically, there are 3 categories. There is PC or Intel Mac. Those are x86. There is a Power PC, which is a Mac, a G3, a G4, a G5, a PowerBook, or an iBook. A MacBook is an x86. A PowerBook is a Power PC. Then there's, if you have an AMD 64 or a Pentium Xeon 64 or one of those, a 64 or something, that's the 3rd category. So that's the first thing you have to know. So figure out which of those 3 categories you're in. Normal PC or Intel MacBook, those are one category. Normal Mac or old school pre-Intel Mac, that's category 2. And 64-bit is category 3.
Now, all you have to do, once you know that, is go to the Ubuntu site and download whichever one it is.
You go to ubuntu.com. On the right side, there'll be a link that says Download Now. You click on it. Then you click on one of the links that has the name of your locale. So Germany, France, Canada, there's like 8 for the United States. Just pick one. Click on it. That will bring you to a site that has a list of downloads. Now, there are 2 CDs, the live CD and the install CD. I recommend, if you've never used Ubuntu or Linux before, to get the live CD of your appropriate architecture. So I have a PC that runs Windows, so I would get the PC Intel x86 live CD. You click on it, and you download this ISO file to your computer.
Now, ISOs are just a list of bits, basically. Don't try to open them or extract them or anything. Just use whatever program you have that'll burn ISOs and burn it straight to a CD.
An ISO is basically a perfect image of a CD-ROM put into a file. So you use a program like Nero or ISO Burn, whatever it's called. There's a lot of programs out there that let you take an ISO file and put it directly to a CD.
If you use Windows, the best one, I forget the name offhand, but I use it on all my Windows PCs. Someone talked about it in the forums. It uses the built-into Windows ISO recording that for some reason they never enabled.
Because that way third-party software vendors aren't competing with Windows.
And you can enable it, and then you can just right-click on an ISO and say, burn to CD.
Yep. So take the ISO file of this live CD and burn it to the CD.
Now,
a blank CDR.
Now change your BIOS.
Okay, now reboot your computer, and when it says, press whatever to enter setup, configuration, whatever.
Most newer computers tend to be F1. Older ones sometimes are delete.
Delete, F4, who knows? Push whatever key it tells you to push.
Trivia, in DOS, back in the DOS days, if you held F5 during the DOS boot, it would not load any drivers and dump you to the bare bones DOS you could get. If you held down F8, it would go through every item in your booting process and ask you if you wanted to do it or not.
Mm-hmm. Those are good days.
Ah, good days.
Okay, so do this. There should be somewhere, navigate the menus and look through all of them, and somewhere it should talk about the first boot device, the second boot device, the third boot device, etc. Make sure that CD-ROM is the first boot device and hard drive is the second boot device.
Well, it doesn't really matter as long as CD-ROM is number 1.
Yeah, make sure CD-ROM is number 1. If you have a floppy drive, you should probably make floppy number 1, CD number 2. But no one has floppy drives anymore. Some computers, newer ones actually, have an option where when the computer starts up, it'll say press F something for boot menu. That's good. My parents, or boot options, my parents' computer has that. You just push F10, and then you choose the boot device for right now. So if you have that option, do that and just select CD-ROM. And you didn't take the CD out after you burned it, so just leave it in there, the live CD. Leave it in the computer. So you boot off of the CD-ROM after you change the settings in your BIOS. Ubuntu will start with this screen. Ubuntu will start, and you'll see this screen that says Ubuntu boot : Push enter at that screen.
If you have weird or old or crappy hardware, you might have to type stuff there.
That's true. If you're using a really old shitty computer or a weird laptop, or maybe you have something really crazy going on in your computer.
Yeah, like SCSI drives will sometimes cause trouble.
SCSI drives, anything really weird, maybe like a PCMCIA hard drive or network card. Weird stuff. What you want to do is, I think they tell you to push some key for more options. Then you can read through the options, and you want to do stuff like no FB, which means no frame buffer, or change the resolution to something lower in case you have a real shitty old monitor, and stuff like that. And all you do to do that is type the commands the menu tells you to type at that same place I just told you to push enter. Once you're beyond that, you just wait. What will happen is Ubuntu will boot, and it will be fully usable 100%, and that will basically let you use Ubuntu and test it out for as long as you want. Ubuntu. For as long as you want, without having to write any data to your hard drive whatsoever. You didn't install it, you're just running it using the RAM and the CD-ROM. Your hard drive isn't even on at this point. And this lets you see if Ubuntu is the right thing for you.
Now, if you like it and you want to install it, you boot the install CD instead of the live CD.
Yep, repeat the same process we just said, only use the install CD instead of the live CD.
Now, you have to pick, where you want it to install and all, and you can keep your Windows drives around and all that, depending on what kind of thing you want to set up.
Yes, I'm not going to give a big lecture about drive partitioning.
You're on your own for that point. We're going to go with you're just wiping out a computer and building it from scratch.
Yes, we're going to assume that you have a blank hard drive and you're going to erase it. Now, if you already have Windows on there somewhere, you need some free space. Not empty space on the Windows drive. Unpartitioned space. And that's not the same thing. But you can get a lesson about that online, and I'm not going to teach it to you.
So we're assuming you just don't care, and you boot the install CD, and you hit enter.
Yep. You boot the install CD, you hit enter. All you have to do now is hit enter a bunch more times. Now, it's going to ask you a few questions along the way. It's going to ask you for a root No, it won't ask you for a root password. It'll ask you to create a user account. It'll ask you possibly for some network configurations, which should be pretty obvious, automatically configure the network and whatnot. It'll ask you where you want to install Ubuntu. You just select that. You select a hard drive, and then you'll say, completely delete that drive. Or you'll select some empty space and say, use that empty space. And Ubuntu can recommend partitions for you, or you can automatically partition. I recommend letting Ubuntu pick partitions. It's really smart. It knows what to do.
Yeah, if you know why you want certain partitions to be certain ways, you don't need to be listening to our advice right now.
Yeah, this is for people who know nothing about Linux and whatnot.
I mean, if you know that you want var log to be a separate partition in case the logs fill up because your rotators, whatever, then
yeah,
go away. No, don't go away, but stop listening today.
Yeah. All right. So what this will do is you'll push enter a bunch of times, and eventually Ubuntu will be installed. Now you'll take the CD out and reboot the computer, and it'll be just like the live CD, only now it's on your hard drive. And you have Ubuntu completely installed and working.
That's it. You've got it. The only other thing I would recommend doing is there's a thing called Easy Ubuntu.
Right. Here's how to do Easy Ubuntu. Ubuntu by itself. Ubuntu by itself follows a bunch of laws that are evil and sucky. And these laws make it hard for you to watch videos or use Flash or Java.
Java's the worst one.
Yeah, and all sorts of the NVIDIA driver that you'll need if you have an NVIDIA card, the official ATI driver so that your 3D will work properly. All that stuff is not in Ubuntu for legal reasons. So you need to get those things. The easiest way to get those things is with a separate program called Easy Ubuntu.
All it is a script that will very easily do all those hard things for you. It'll get Java and install it. It'll get Flash and install it. It'll do all the stuff you need to make everything work.
Yeah, so go to easyubuntu.freecontrib.org.
Or just Google for it.
Or Google for Easy Ubuntu. And you'll see a link at the top of that site that will say Get Easy Ubuntu. Now, there are three ways to get Easy Ubuntu. The beta release, the bleeding edge, and the nightly snapshot. Get the beta release. Now, it's a little tricky. What you have to do is you have to open a terminal, because there isn't really a terminal in Ubuntu that you can get to easily. Remember these keys, Control-Alt-F1, all at the same time. Now, type in your username and then your password, and then type in the commands that the Easy Ubuntu website told you to type in.
Just follow their instructions.
Oh, no, actually, you can't type those in Control F1. You'd have to type them in X because it tries to open that thing.
Oh, all right, open a terminal. You can do that.
Yeah. Let's see. How would you open a terminal in Ubuntu if it doesn't tell you? I guess you have to right-click on the GNOME panel and add the command line to the panel.
Actually, I think in GNOME by default, if you right-click one of the context options...
No, because they take that one out in Ubuntu.
What?
Yeah, they take that out in Ubuntu to make it easier, but it also makes it difficult to get people to open a terminal. That's the problem.
Oh. See, I've never actually used Ubuntu. I'm just sticking with Gentoo.
Yeah, if you right-click on the desktop in Ubuntu, it doesn't give you the option to open terminal.
All right, then how do you open a terminal?
I guess you have to right-click on the big gray bar across the top in the open space and say Add to Panel, and then add the command line to the panel. This is the easiest way. And this white box will appear in the panel. In that white box, type XTERM and press Enter, and a terminal will open up. Then type the 4 commands you see on the Easy Ubuntu website.
And after that, you're done. You've got Ubuntu working.
Well, this box will open up with some check boxes.
So you have to answer questions to say what you want installed.
Yeah, you just check the boxes of the stuff that you want to add to Ubuntu and click OK. And now you have a perfect, amazing Ubuntu.
That's it. If you want more software than it comes with, open the package manager.
Yeah, if you go to System Administration, Synaptic Package Manager, you can go in there and search for programs that you want to add to Ubuntu and install them just by checking the boxes and clicking Install. And you really shouldn't get software from anywhere else besides the package manager.
Yeah, don't try to install like Debs or just...
Yeah, don't go around the internet looking for software trying to install it. If you need more software that isn't included in Ubuntu, it either A, doesn't exist, or B, you should get it from the package manager. Or C, it'll be in the next version of Ubuntu, which is coming soon.
And if you need anything beyond that, just use Gentoo.
Or go on the internets.
Or make a Linux from scratch.
Or search for something on the internets to ask, how do I do this? How do I do that?
Yep. But, I mean, all in all, Ubuntu is really, really simple to use.
And it's really, really good. I think I said this in the forums, but I'll say it again here. Back in the day, the law of Linux was that if the Linux distribution was easy to use, it sucked, quality-wise. I mean, Red Hat was easy to install, and Mandrake was a little less easy to install. And Mandrake was a little bit better than Red Hat, but they both really sucked, because as a consequence of making it really easy, they screwed it all up. Gentoo and Debian were really hard to install, and you had to work to maintain them. And to a certain extent, you still do, even though it's a little bit easier nowadays. but they were infinitely superior. They were real Linux. They worked the way Ubuntu works now. Quality ways. They didn't crash. Everything worked. Everything was beautiful. And a lot of people got bad impressions of Linux because we didn't want to put the effort in to do the hard Linuxes that worked properly, or they did the hard Linuxes wrong and they worked improperly, or they did the easy Linuxes and they sucked. Ubuntu is so amazing because it is the easy Linux that doesn't suck. It's essentially just as good as the real deal Debian when you get right down to it. So, if you've never used Linux before, Ubuntu is a good way to start. And the problem is you won't learn anything about Linux. You'll just have Linux to be able to use.
Which, if you don't care about computers, that's fine.
Yeah, if you don't care about computers and you don't want to learn anything about Linux, just stick with Ubuntu. It's easy, it's shiny, it works.
It's also free.
Super, everything in Linux is free. But if you want to learn something about Linux and be the Linux god, you should try Gentoo or Debian or something.
Yeah, or Linux from scratch.
Yeah, Gentoo is probably the best way. They give you this handbook, and you just read the handbook and follow the directions. Now, following the directions won't learn you anything unless you remember that you need to figure out and make sure you know what you're doing while you read the handbook. I mean...
Like it'll say, type blah, 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 blah. You'll type exactly what they type, but make sure you know why you're typing it.
Yeah, make sure you know exactly what the commands you're typing are doing if you use the Gentoo handbook. That's the only way to learn what's going on. The first, 2 or 3 times I did it, I didn't know what half the commands meant, but I just typed them in to try to get it to work, and it didn't work. Because I didn't know what I was doing until I learned what each and everything really was, and then I had it down. Now I'm the Gentoo install master, even though I'm out of practice. I haven't done it in a couple of years.
Now, on that note, we did this episode mostly because it's a cop-out so we can go to bed.
Woohoo, cop out.
So, good night.
Yay.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.